Hey everyone that's just coming in. I do apologize. I think this storm is really working against us today. Um, I really wanted to be able to show you all of this in one video and not have it so choppy. So what I'm going to do for those of you that found me here is I want to answer a few more questions, but if it gets knocked off again, we might have to reschedule. I think this storm is just causing some problems. So please forgive me, but thank you for your patience. I'm going to let a few more people come in and I'm going to pull up these questions. Please let me know if you can hear me. Okay, good. I'm just messaging the last live to let everyone know I'm over here. All right, it looks like a few people are coming in. It's only 4 people. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Miss Otisa. Let me get my questions together. All right. Again, I'm so sorry about that. The last live, it literally just cut off on me and I couldn't get back in. So I started a new one. I'm going to try my hardest to get through as many of these questions as possible before I get knocked off again. It sounds like the rain slowed down, but it really started coming down at one point. And I think it's messing with my internet connection out here in my garage. And please forgive the mess back here. If we get knocked off again, we will reschedule for another day when it's more convenient and possibly lighter outside and not storming. So I'm going to go ahead and get started before it knocks us off again. I was answering the question of how long, and my answer was very long. How long have I been gardening? So short answer, it's been about 3 years. I started in buckets, 5-gallon buckets on my patio. And each season, I kind of, I guess, added more to it until I got to where I am now. So it's been about 3 years that I've really been doing. My mom gardened years ago. I didn't really have an interest back then. So I can't really count that. Let's see. What do you have growing in your garden now? And hopefully some of you got to see the small tour that I did before it got really pitch black outside. But right now I have, and I didn't show this and I'm so sorry, carrots and beets in one bed. And then I have a lot of collard greens because me and my kids love collard greens and it's that season. And a lot of kale. Those are my major things that I grow in the fall. This year I added, or I'm attempting to grow Brussels sprouts. I like Brussels sprouts. My kids don't. I tried to grow them in the spring, but our spring was kind of weird. as is this fall, but they like a cooler temperature. So I'm attempting to grow them again. And then I also have broccoli and bok choy in my garden right now. Next question. And if you all have a question, just type it in all caps so I don't miss it. I am looking for the all caps because it kind of jumps out at me. But these are questions that Miss Otisa had for me, so I'm just going to kind of answer these while I wait for you guys to ask any questions. Next question. So this is mid-fall, mid-November. What are some things that someone can plant right now or today? That was something I also wanted to show you all. I went to the nursery today and I picked up some started plants. And they didn't have a lot to choose from. So I'm not sure about any other nurseries, but I know that if you have a local nursery and they have some started plants, started fall plants, those are fine to put in the ground now. You really won't, I can't say that they won't. I know last year was a perfect example. I planted some started collard greens this month in November. And because we had a mild winter, the collard greens, the other plants didn't do very well when it froze or we had a little snow, but the collard greens did very well. I actually, when I pulled my collard greens up, when was it? In January or February, I still could harvest. Which nursery do I go to? So I'm in Prince George. The closest nursery to me is Boulevard Flowers. And that's off of Ruffin Mill Road in Colonial Heights, border of Colonial Heights and Chester. And I have visited the nursery that is on Courthouse, I believe, in Chesterfield. Not recently, but I have gotten plants from there as well. I don't know if they have any started plants still available, but I know that I went to Boulevard today because I wanted to show you guys some started plants, and they didn't have a lot to choose from. I got a few plants, kale plants, and they are very small, and they looked a little like I'm gonna have to bring them back, like nurse them back to health because they were a little on the kind of leaning side. But yes, so collard greens are something that you can possibly plant now if you can find some started plants, because they are frost tender. I mean, they're frost hard. They can survive in the frost, and a hard frost they can survive in. When it snowed, I didn't get a chance to go out there and cover my plants, and I didn't have any problems. I was still harvesting off of them in February. Favorite things to grow and why? So, my favorite things to grow is in the summer. Tomatoes and peppers. And it's because they're just so colorful, and I have a lot of variety of tomatoes and peppers that I start myself from seed. And so growing those things, okay. Antoinette says that's the great big greenhouse that's off of Courthouse Road. So that I have visited that one before. My favorite things. So tomatoes and peppers are my favorite things because they're so colorful. I grow a ton. This year I had 15 tomato plants. I had about 20 pepper plants. They took up a lot of my space in my garden. I make my own tomato sauces, like spaghetti sauce, diced tomatoes, salsa, from scratch, and I can them. And so in order for me to do those things, like my batches of spaghetti sauce, I need 50 pounds of tomatoes. So those are my favorite things to grow. And cucumbers, because I make a lot of pickles and relish and stuff as well during the canning season. Least favorite things to grow. I don't I'm not going to say it's my least favorite, but I'm going to say carrots. And Brussels sprouts. And they're not necessarily like my least favorite. It's not that I don't like growing them. I just have not successfully grown them to the point where I can say, oh, I love doing this. I eat them, so I want to grow them, but they have not been a big success for me. The harvests have been very small, and I didn't get any Brussels sprouts at all. Tell us about your chickens. So I have 13 chickens. I had 20. We had some sad days the past month. I don't know if I should go into gory detail about some things that happened, but there were predators involved. So now I'm down to 13 chickens. My chickens are, I wanted to have a colorful basket. And hopefully if we do this again, maybe in the spring or summer, I'll have so much more to show you guys. I have an olive egger. Do you grow any fruits? Yes. I'm going to get back to, let me go to the chickens real quick, but don't let me forget. I have an olive egger, which gives me an olive green egg. I have a black copper Moran, which gives me a really dark chocolate egg. I have a Easter egger. Some people call them Americanas. Mine is a mixed breed. It's not a full Americana, so I call it an Easter egger, which is like a blue and teal color eggs. I have a few of those. I have a buff Orpington, a lavender Orpington, which are just regular. Those are the big fluffy ones. That's brown, and one that's kind of like a purple or gray color. And some brown leghorns, Jersey Giants. And most of those just lay regular brown or white eggs. So I wanted to have a variety of egg colors, which is why I got so many different breeds. So that's that. As far as the fruits, in the summer, and I can't believe I forgot this because this is actually my favorite thing to grow besides the tomatoes. Watermelons and cantaloupe. I grew a lot of watermelons and cantaloupe. And this summer I grew vertically. So I used hog panels and cattle panels and T-posts. And I put the cattle panels the long way and on the T-post. I zip tied them to the T-post, and I grew up. So as the watermelon plants were growing, I just kept kind of intertwining them until they grew up. And I have a picture that I can post later on this evening. I used produce bags to tie around the large melons so that once they got heavy, they wouldn't just fall to the ground and burst. And we grew a lot. My kids ate a lot of watermelon and cantaloupe because of that. That's really the only fruit I was able to grow because a lot of, and strawberries. But a lot of fruits, you have to have like more than one growing season. And in this area, I don't have like a greenhouse or an indoor space that I can bring them into. Some people do. So if you do have that, you can do things like lemons and stuff like that. But I don't have that. So anything that doesn't produce a harvest within like 90 days or 120 days, I think at the most, I can't grow in this area because I just don't have a long enough season. How many eggs do they produce a week? And we're going back to the chicken question. So that's hard because I have different chickens. My hens are all different ages. Some of them aren't even laying yet because I just got them. And when they are all laying, they each may lay an egg a day. I have not had all of them laying at one time. Over the summertime, when I had like 16 to 18 that were laying, I'm sorry, 16 to 18 hens. Maybe 9 or 10 of them were laying, and I was getting 9 or 10 eggs a day. And so there were times when I was getting about 5 dozen a week on average. I have 6 kids, so we will eat sometimes that much. And if we didn't, I would save them, and then, or family members would come and get some. But they last for a little while out on the counter. So I would leave them out on the counter as I'm collecting them for about 2 weeks. And then if we haven't eaten them, I'll wash them and put them in the refrigerator. Because there were some weeks where I wouldn't get that many. So it kind of evened out. But if it ever got to the point where I thought they were going to go bad, I would call my mom or my sisters to come get them. But there were some times I was getting about 5 dozen a week for my hens. Have you ever used kiddie pools or grow bags for the melons? Not for the melons. Melons take up a lot of space. So I actually used my garden bed. Because the length of my cattle panels, I wanted to use as much as I possibly could. And I had already cut those in half. So I grew them in an 8x4 raised bed. And I had 3 rows. And each row, I had about 4 plants in each row of my melons. They take up a lot of space though, especially if you're growing along the ground. You probably could grow like 1 plant in a kiddie pool if you're growing it along the ground. Because they'll probably still spill out of that, to be honest. The only thing I've used my kiddie pool for were bush beans and herbs. I had one kiddie pool that was dedicated towards herbs. I hope I'm not rambling on, you guys. I'm so sorry. The next question. What do I feed the chickens? I use a layer pellets that I get from Tractor Supply. And some people use organic, and I tried to be, I'm going to use organic feed for my hens. And I mean, that's great. I love anything organic, but they're a lot more expensive. And when I got up to 20 chickens, I was buying 2 50-pound bags probably every 2 weeks. And like the 50-pound bags for organic is like $30. And I mean, I like my eggs, but I wasn't trying to spend like $60 every 2 weeks just to get some eggs. So I went down to a regular layer pellet for right now. And I think they are 40-pound bags. And I wish I could have showed you guys this. We really have to do this again. What it sits in that feeds them, the feeder, is 60 gallons. It holds 60 gallons of feed. And so actually I usually can put 2 bags in there. So it probably holds a little bit more because those are like 40-pound. Wait, I'm sorry. They hold 60 pounds, not 60 gallons. I'll have to look at it. But that's what I feed them, pellets. When I got them younger, before they started laying, I gave them chick starter. So when I had adults, they were separated from the babies, or I call them, or the pullets, and they can't eat the layer feed. So I would give them the chick start. And then in the transition to those being put with the adult hens, I would kind of switch off to an all flock feed, and then I would give my laying hens oyster shells to help with their calcium intake so they can still produce eggs. So that's how much space do you need for chickens? Okay. So it really depends. I wanted a lot of chickens. There's this thing called chicken math. And if you understand, if you've been around someone who says chicken math, let me just explain what that is. So chicken math is You say, oh, I want just like 4 hens so I can collect maybe about 4 eggs a day because it's only me and my spouse or me and one child. And then you go and you are shopping for your baby, your chicks, and you come home with like 15. That's what's called chicken math. I personally said that I was going to have 7 chickens because I felt like the space that I had was good enough for 7 chickens and I did not want to overcrowd them. I got a coop built and I had built me a little fence around them and that was enough. They could kind of free range. It was only a few of them. Everything was going to be fine. And most people who have backyard chickens, they only have a few. They have like 3, 4, 7 to me was like the max. Within 3 months, I had like 15. Because I was like, oh, these chicks are cute. Oh, these chicks are cute. These lay different eggs. I'm watching these people on YouTube. They have all these beautiful eggs and chickens running around. And I was like, I can just add a little bit more. I can do a little bit more. I got up to 20. And it wasn't bad. I extended my run so they had more space because you don't want to overcrowd them. So basically you want to have enough space that they can spread out and they can scratch. And then the coop that they will roost in at night, you don't have to have as much space. And a lot of the coops, if you order like a coop that you build or whatever, it'll tell you how many hens they're good for. But they don't need a lot of space for that because they actually like to like roost really close together. I didn't forget you, Temple, but I do want to address what Miss Antoinette said. There's a limit for the number of you can have in a city. Okay, so I'm in the county, so I don't know specifically. And really you can go to, I'm assuming, someone in planning or zoning or something and maybe ask in your area. So I really don't know about that. I'm in Prince George County. I don't know of any limits that we have out here. But as far as the space is concerned, you don't need a lot of space unless you're going to have a lot of chickens. Like I really want 50, but it's not realistic in my backyard. Do chickens attract snakes? So I've heard that they do. I have not had, thank God, any issues with snakes. I don't have water around me. I keep my lawn cut very low. Like I have a guy that comes out and he, every 2 weeks, faithfully, I don't even have to call him, he cuts my grass. I don't keep a lot of places for snakes to hide. I haven't even had any problems with mice. And I've heard both of those things, that mice or snakes, chickens attract critters and stuff. And I think that they go for their eggs, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so Miss Leticia looked it up. She said it says 6, and it requires a permit. I've always been in the county, so I don't know. I've always been in a county. I know Chesterfield County has some pretty, some rules. Because I grew up in Chesterfield County, but I've been in Prince George, so I'm not sure. There's a lot of farms out here, so I don't know if they really even care. I guess if my neighbors complained, then maybe I might have to deal with that, but my neighbors don't complain, and I've given eggs away to some of my neighbors, so. Okay. I can imagine that. I mean, if it's not causing, I don't know what the city coordinates are or ordinance are when it comes to that. But look it up. Definitely look it up like Miss Otisa did. I done lost my place. What will you do with your raised beds after fall growing season is over? I will amend them again. Now, I've been in the process of trying to find a bigger place just because my house is getting smaller with all of my children. And this year with the pandemic, I decided to preserve a lot more of my food, and canning in my kitchen because I have like no counter space has been a headache. So I've been actively looking for somewhere else. With that being said, I don't know for sure if I'm moving, then I probably won't amend my beds. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with them. But if I was to stay, I would just amend them again, and I would start planting my spring and summer garden. Like I said, the collards will actually grow throughout the winter, so I don't mess with it. And in the beds that I don't have anything growing, you want to try to mulch it, protect your soil. Some people do cover crops to protect or keep their soil alive, and that's an option. But me personally, I just keep whatever's growing. And I haven't had too many over the last 3 years. My collards have lasted. I just kept harvesting collards and kale, really, the curly kale. They just keep growing. I have no more hawks because of the chickens. I'm curious. So what happens to the hawks? Type that in the messages, in the comments, because I want to know what happened to how the chickens did it. Chickens can, I know roosters can, pretty much defend themselves, but I've always thought that the hawks were the predators when it came to chickens. Where am I? What do you use to feed your plants? Oh, more hawks. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. We have more hawks. Yeah, because they are looking for... Yeah, they are the predators. They like to... I have a cover over my... I call it a pen, but it's like a run. I use a dog kennel, a really large dog kennel, and I used some extenders to make it longer, and it has a cover over that because I do fear, more predators than I already have. I had something coming and taking my chickens away recently, and so the cover didn't help with that, but no hawks can come and mess with them. I lost my place again. What do you do for pests? So someone asked in the last live that I did before I got cut off about pests and their greens, my collards. So I try to be as organic as possible. I use diatomaceous earth or neem oil, and I don't have any neem oil in here, and I used my last bag of diatomaceous earth, so I think I have another one on my porch, and I wish I would have brought it out here. The other thing I will use is BT. And this is for organic gardening as well. I don't know if you can see that. So neem oil and BT have to be diluted with water. So I don't do it as often as I do the diatomaceous earth. The diatomaceous earth, I just dust all over my plants. But this is actually better for caterpillars. So I would use my my water hose has an attachment to it where I can add this or the neem oil to it, and then just water my garden with it. What predator got your chickens? Honestly, I don't know. I had 4 pullets. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I never know when I'm talking to people. It's so embarrassing. But baby chickens that I got over the summertime. They were called Cinnamon Queens, and I went into, there's that chicken math again. I went into Tractor Supply to get something else and came out with 4 baby chicks, and my daughters was like, "Mommy," but that's what happened. Pullets, thank you. And they were in a small kennel or dog carrier because I was introducing them to the flock, because you don't want to take babies and put them directly in with the hens, because there's a pecking order that has to be established and they will kill them. So I introduced mine by sticking the dog carrier with the babies, once they get enough feathers to survive outside on their own, inside the chicken area. And they were in there, and I was going to let them out. They were in there for probably about 3 or 4 days. Well, overnight, something got into my run, and I never closed my coop because they were enclosed in the run. But there's a gap about this big from the roof of my coop to the top of the cover for the run. And something got hopped up. I think it was a raccoon. But everybody keeps saying raccoons don't attack chickens. But I believe it was a raccoon because around the outside it was very muddy and there were raccoon prints. But the first night, it reached into the dog carrier and tried to pull the babies out, and I'm so sorry, popped their heads off, and there were just the babies' bodies there, and it was very devastating. My kids, were upset. And then, so that was how 4 of them died. The next night, I assumed that it was because they were small and they were defenseless. That was why they died. I didn't close my coop that night. I wasn't even thinking about it. The bigger hens, I thought there was like 16 of them. And the next day, actually, I didn't check the next day. It was about 2 days later. I have a really fat white Brahma. Beautiful. Stands out. I had 2 of them. I went out there to get eggs. I noticed there was only 1. I did a count and noticed I was missing 2 more chickens. So now I close my coop every night. I forgot to do it tonight when I showed you guys. So I need to go out there and close it once we finish this. But I close it every night because I don't know if it's like, since the raccoon or whatever it is knows that it's there, it keeps coming back. So oh Lord, they can unlock doors. Well, my coop, because it's settled, you like have to pull to get it open. But good God. Brahmas is yes, I got them because I don't even know what color eggs they lay. I just got them because they had little boots, little feathery boots, and I thought that was so cute. I feel like I missed something. I'm scrolling. Raccoon hawks, chickens run. Hardware cloth to keep predators. Okay, and rodents out. Okay, interesting. So yeah, well, now that I know that they can unlock them, I mean, I haven't had any more go missing since I've been closing the coop at night. So hopefully that is, they can't get in there. Good grief. My daughter wanted to get a BB gun. I was like, I don't know how she's gonna see it, and she's so prissy. I can't even imagine. She'd probably just scream and run. So, anyways, do you have problems with animals? Squirrels, deer, rabbits, raccoons. So, in my garden, me and the squirrels have had it out. They ate all of my strawberries this summer. And next summer, I built a little box around the strawberries now with some wire. But I didn't know no more strawberries grew. So I missed the season, I guess. But I had some strawberries, and the squirrels, I would literally see a strawberry on the plant, and I was like, "Oh, that looks really pretty. I'm going to let it ripen," and it would be gone. It would just be gone like the next day. So as soon as it ripened, the squirrels would come and get it. So I built a box around it. I have had deer in my backyard, but they have never eaten any of my plants. I don't know why. I'm not sure why. Let her get the BB. I mean, I bought a BB gun, but I just don't see her. My daughter, if anybody has had a chance to watch any of my YouTube channels, my oldest daughter, she will be 15 next month, is the girliest girl. She never wants to be in any of my videos, but she does come out. I get her sometimes, but I mean everything. She's not gonna. If she saw the raccoon, she would drop the BB gun and probably scream and run. So I don't. That might be funny to watch, but I don't see her. How do you compost with table scraps? Does it have to be broken down? So everybody does things differently. I have a pile in my backyard with a little cage around it. I got it from Tractor Supply. That's like my favorite place. And I just, whatever, like if I chop up some things, I just throw them on the pile. There's a lot of leaves out there right now, so when I go and get my leaves up, I'm going to put them on the pile. When I clean my nesting boxes out and my coop out and there's chicken poop, I throw that on the pile. I just throw everything on a pile and then kind of turn it, in the summertime so that it can break down a lot easier. I have used compost starter. And some people say use some worms, but I use a lot of orange peels and stuff in mine, and I know worms don't like that. Don't like citrusy things, so I haven't really added worms to my compost to break them down. But you want to get a good mix of green and brown material. Off the top of my head, I never remember which one is green and which one is brown. But like things like grass clippings, leaves, those things are either green or brown. Somebody help me out if you can. And then like your kitchen scraps are the opposite. I want to say the kitchen scraps are brown. Don't quote me. Miss Nicole might know. She seems to be a wealth of information. So, but you have to get a good balance between the two. But that's all I do. I don't necessarily break them down, but usually if it's chicken scraps, they're already broken down. The stalks to my greens, I personally, don't compost those because I also make my own vegetable broth. See there? I knew she knew. So dry leaves are brown, grass clippings and veggies from your kitchen are green. I always just look it up when I need to know. But I just know the balance has to be there. I also throw my coffee grounds. So here's something I can show you. Maybe. I'm not sure. So I go to Starbucks a lot. Everybody that works there knows me by name. and by order. I can go through the drive-thru and they'll be like, hey, Whitney, just based off of what I order. It's a little embarrassing when I have people with me. But anyways, we have a really great relationship. And so every now and then they'll call me and say, hey, we got a box of coffee grounds if you want some. And now this one got away from me, so I'm not going to use it because it's got a little mold in it. But they will give me a box. Oh, I can't really. Of their used coffee grounds. And I compost this. And I also use it for soil amendment. I will also dry my eggshells. Oh, put eggshells in your compost. That too, yep. Yes. I was getting ready to get to, sometimes I don't compost it, but I do compost most of them. But sometimes I will dry my eggshells, and then I have a coffee grinder that I use specifically for this. I want a pulverizer machine, but they're a little pricey. That is something I want to invest in, though. I just don't need any more kitchen gadgets in my small kitchen. But I'll put them in there dried, and I'll grind them into a powder. Which I'll mix in with my soil sometimes to amend it as well. Paper, cardboard, brown leaves. Yep, all of that can go in your compost. But like I was saying, like my carrots, the greens from my carrots, I don't compost. The only kitchen scraps I usually compost are fruits, maybe, because anything else like celery, cucumbers I compost. Cucumbers I actually give to my chickens, the ends of my cucumbers. What is soil amendments, and when and how do you amend it? So when you are growing vegetables in your soil, or anything in your soil, they are sucking all the nutrients out of that soil. And so if you use it, if you garden like every season and you're constantly using that same soil, you want to amend that soil so that you're putting nutrients back into it, so that you can continue to grow healthy plants. And so soil amendments could be compost, manure, food, not fish food, but fertilizers, the coffee grounds I use as an amendment. Anything that you're adding nutrients back into your soil. And I do mine in between seasons because I grow both in the spring, summer, fall. So anytime I pull all of my stuff out of my garden, I'll amend the soil before I plant anything else. I think I'm at the bottom of this list here. How do you get your children involved in gardening? I didn't have to do that. Every time I would go outside, they come outside. Actually, gardening has gotten my children into eating vegetables because I'll give you an example. My 7-year-old never liked carrots. Hated carrots. She could pick the carrots out of a meal if I had cut them up really small. If there's a little piece of orange, she's like, I'm not having it. I grew carrots over the spring, and I went to go pull up a whole lot of them, like all at once, because I needed that space. And she actually helped plant those carrots. And when she was pulling them up, she was so excited. She was like, Mommy, I want to eat these carrots. She loves carrots now. Greens. I've always cooked fresh produce greens, like even when I wasn't gardening. But it wasn't their favorite. Salads, never liked salads. All those things they eat now. I don't know if it's a mental thing. I don't know if it's the excitement of the fact that they grew it, but the gardening has helped them eat their vegetables. I didn't have to get them involved in the gardening. They did that on their own. They just wanted to come outside and help. They get very involved with I think it's fun to them. Even with chicken chores. My 15-year-old cannot stand chicken chores at all. Her chore is to give them water and let them out sometimes, and she hates doing it. My 9-year-old, every morning, will come out here, open up the coop, check for eggs. Every night she checks for eggs, close the coop. When I let her. She doesn't just come out here by herself. So I didn't have to get them involved at all. And I think it's because they're young. Because like I said, my 15-year-old, she doesn't want anything to do with it. What do you do over winter to prepare for spring? So, I of course harvest my fall and winter vegetables. But the anxiety of waiting for spring to come does get to me sometimes. I'll go back and watch a lot of YouTube videos. I'll watch my YouTube videos. I will plan and then replan and then plan again. I stock seed companies online. I add things to my wish list. I take things out of my wish list. I might order some if there's a sale. It's just when over the winter, it's a lot of anxiety and excitement just waiting for it. But in January is when I actually start organizing my seeds, and I can show you guys what I use to organize my seeds. Hey, oops. Hold on, guys. I'm trying to move this thing around here. Let's see. Because it was actually leaning on it. So, they gotta watch the babies. Oh, well. Yes, I definitely would love to do a greenhouse. I wish I could have one out here, but I can't. I can't see what this one says. So this is my seed catalog. And for those of you guys that I've met at this farm, and I think I came to one of the black farmers market for a seed swap. I just kind of came in here. But I have all of my seeds in here, and like, as you can see, different. Woo! About to knock them over. The different containers that have the different seeds. Like this is tomatoes, so I have a bunch of tomato seeds. And I get them from different places. And that's what I do over the winter time, is stock seed places. I think there's only one more question, and I'm not sure, Miss Otisa, if there was anything else that you might have wanted me to cover. Best garden advice. That's my last. I got a slight case of OCD, so yeah, I have to organize it or it drives me crazy. But I do have seeds everywhere. I have seed packets in my house, in my nightstand, because sometimes that's a whole nother story. But I try to be organized so that when I'm out here starting my seeds, I will make sure to, like, I'll pull out all of my peppers and then I start them in a tray and put them under some lights. Because I don't have a greenhouse, I have to put mine under lights on a shelf. And so until I get my space, I do want to have a green. My best garden advice, and this was the garden advice that was given to me. If you're not gardening right now and you want to, start. Start now. Even if it's just in buckets. The reality is I want to have acres one day. the things that I have learned just by trial and error, just by saying, oh, you know, somebody said that this would work, I'm going to try it. Someone said this wasn't going to work, I'm still going to try it. The things that I have learned and the mistakes that I have made on a smaller scale, I am grateful for, so that when I have my acres and I'm planting so much more, you don't want to lose a whole crop of, like, you know, right now I have 4 10x4s. I'm sorry, 8x4s. If I lose a bed, I mean, it's a little devastating, but it's not like the end of the world. But if I was to lose like my entire crop because I made a mistake, that would be a lot more frustrating and could possibly cause me to not want to do it anymore. So start now, even if it's in a bucket, a container, a tote, one garden bed, one raised bed, one flower pot, because you can play around with those things. And to watch something grow from a seed or even a started plant to this thing that yields you this great harvest is an amazing motivator to do more. And you learn from your mistakes. And so that would be my greatest advice. For those that are already gardening, I would say expand. Do more. Don't be scared. A lot of the reason why it took me so long, even though God placed this on my heart years ago, it took me so long to get started, was out of fear. Fear of failure. I suffer from that a lot, and I didn't want to do something not knowing what I was doing. And I'm so glad that I just went ahead and jumped out there. I mean, you know, the seed packets, I maybe pay like $2 for them, and I'll start a whole bunch of something, and you know, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, what did I do wrong? And I'll try again. So that's it. Miss Otisa said I answered everything. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I don't know if I can plug this or not, but I do have a YouTube channel where I do go over my journey in my garden and, you know, how I manage with the 6 kids that I have and the garden and the chickens. And I also work full time and own a hair salon. So I'll go over a lot of things there too. I like to post a lot of my stuff in the group. So look out for me. And if you guys want to do this again where we can actually see my garden and it's not raining and dark, I'll be more than happy to do it. So great. Thanks, everybody. Yes, I will save the video on the page. Oh, I'm so happy. I was like, it's kind of weird when I'm talking into the camera, like on this live and trying to be interactive. When I'm doing my YouTube videos, I know nobody is like watching me and I can go back and edit. But doing this live was kind of nerve-wracking. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed. Thank you. Feel free to ask me any questions later. And you guys have a good night.